kicking off our 50th, which New Foundation was established in 1974. So we're excited. And I've been with New Foundation for 30 years. So, yes.
Well, for people who don't know what y'all do, tell people what kind of things y'all do.
Here at New Foundations, we care for children from the age of 10 to 21. We get kids from the Department of Juvenile Justice, Department of DSS. So various agencies refer their kids here, and the stay is usually from 3 months to about 3 years or so. Some are here longer. We've had them for 5 years. And then we also have families that we work with within the community, which is our Empowering Families program, and our foster care program, which is TFC, which they have a foster care program where they go in and do foster care, where they have regular foster care and therapeutic foster care.
What would happen to these kids if you guys weren't here?
Oh, I would hate to see that, because the one thing that we do is teach them various skills to survive, which is survival is very important, because a lot of them does not have a home to go to. So imagine where they would be if they did not have an actual place. But the biggest thing that we do is teach them those skills that they're going to need, hopefully, and use in the long run. Different coping skills, different therapeutic things that they can use when they get out there. The ones from DJJ, they do still have their family, but the biggest thing is what got them here. So we try to look at that. Every case is different, so it really depends on why were you referred here. So we take that and then we build from there. So I feel like if New Foundations wasn't here, where would they be? I think they'll just be lost in the system. So we give them an opportunity to have the community piece, and instead of being behind bars or somewhere lost in this community. So we try our best to wrap around as many services as possible to help them be successful, hopefully, in this world.
And you've been here for much of the history. How did it start? How did New Foundation start?
I think it was my understanding, if I'm not mistaken, when there was a whole issue with kids and not having a place to go. Back in, again, 1974. When that came about, a group of men saw the need for, besides going, I guess, behind the bars is what the kids say, instead of going to a juvenile facility, they looked at having a housing for them, and again, to teach them various skills. Besides, I mean, you can learn anything anywhere, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying we're the best placement, but when you go to a juvenile facility, you might learn a little extra. Here, we try to keep it as therapeutic as possible. So therefore, coming to a therapeutic facility, you learn a whole lot more skills that's going to help you in the long run.
You've been here 30 years.
Yes, sir.
Has the need increased?
Oh, yes. And then it's various needs. You know what I'm saying? Some of it's behavior, some of it's mental. It just depends. I mean, because we work with, again, every need is different. Some of the kids may come in pregnant, so it just depends on where you're at. But yes, the need continues to increase. Like I said, with the foster homes that we have, we can work here at New Foundation with our residential program. Once they complete this level, they might can go to our independent level. So we have an independent living group home, or if they're not in need of an independent living group home, we have a foster care program where they can go into one of our foster homes if they don't have a home to go to. So therefore, it can vary from level to level. It all depends on what the need is of that child.
And what changes have you seen over 30 years here?
Oh my goodness. I think for me, what I've seen and what has worked, we have TFCBT, and which is a kind of an intervention that our clinical department use, getting to know the children, and with that piece and everybody working together as a team, the kids have been able to identify what is going to work best for them. It's not us coming up with the plan, it's them identifying their needs. And if they need some help, we can put some things in place. So identifying and having the kids have more say-so than staff having it, I think has helped develop them to also take control of their lives instead of somebody else pointing out to them what they need to do. So I think it continues to grow. You just have to take it one day at a time, one child at a time.
How important are volunteers and community support to the efforts y'all do here?
Oh my gosh, it's very important to me. I like it when we have volunteers to come in to do activities with the kids because it's not just us every day, you know, and then what you bring in to us might be something that that kid needs for that day. They get tired of us, I'm sure. So to have someone else come in new, it's always great to help out because what service you may offer, we may not have it here. So someone to come in to do a haircut, to do art projects, to plant flowers, trees, whatever the case may be. These kids got different talents. We don't have them all. Someone in the community may have that one thing that one kid is missing. I mean, to see the talent that some of these kids have, we never know and do it until we do something here. We had a talent show, not knowing these kids can sing, the poems they write, the piano skills that they have. It's just amazing that the skills they do have. So when you have outdoor people, I'm sorry, not outdoor, when you have folks from the outside come in, sometimes they bring that out to show us. And we never knew the kid had that, you know, that talent or whatever. So we definitely appreciate, and the kids have other needs. It might be a hygiene need. It might be prom time coming up, prom dresses. So we're always looking for volunteers or just to come in and read with the kids, teach the kids. It might be to help with homework. It's always welcome.
And how can people volunteer if they're interested?
If anyone is interested in volunteer, we have Bethany. She is our PR person. You just, again, we got a webpage. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Just look us up. We got a whole website page. New Foundation's Home for Children. All our programs are listed there, as well as the other things that we have to offer.
Now spell your name for me, just so I'm getting sure I get everything right.
Yes, it's EVETTEPOWERS. I'm so sorry.
You did good. First of all, tell me who you are.
I'm Bob Opperman.
And how did you get involved in New Foundations?
This is a long story. I'll boil it down a little bit. This is the 50th anniversary of New Foundations. I was there almost at the beginning, about 1 year into what was called the Youth Treatment Center back then. I was given a part-time job to help look after the boys at that time in the evenings and on the weekends. So that was 49 years ago that I started. And then my work through the years with Department of Juvenile Justice and then vocational rehabilitation led me to have interactions. Some of the clients that I had also stayed at New Foundations. So I was involved with them on and off over the years. And then when I retired, I talked to Steve Dean, the director, and told him I would like to give back a little. And so he invited me to be on the board. And I have served on the board right now, my second term, 3-year term, so for 6 years or more, and I will probably rotate off the board in a few more months.
How have the needs and challenges changed since the beginning? You were there since almost the beginning.
Like anything, if you're going to be successful, you have to evolve and adjust. In the beginning, the challenges were financial. Folks got together and came up with the idea for the treatment center, and seemed like each year it was a budget crisis, and several times they got to the point where they were worrying they were going to have to shut down, but somehow always squeaked through. So early on there were lots of struggles getting the funding. I think that we have learned some things in housing children and bringing them into a program and how to address their needs. That's evolved back then compared to then, and now we've learned so much more. This program has evolved and become a much larger program, a very successful program, and gosh, I can't imagine how many children have been through here by now.
Because I may have to repeat this twice, and y'all don't want me to do that. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you, Captain Rhonda, for welcoming and sharing these events. This is the kickoff of a celebration period that will last from now through December. And the purpose of that is a lot of events and culminating with a gala at the end, probably in October, and then 5K likely in December, which is the race date we could get. I want to cover 3 concepts with us today, and I will be brief. We're trying to celebrate 50 years, and it would take a long time to do that. I want to focus today just on 3 things: reflection, celebration, and anticipation. Reflection, obviously, to look back at 50 years, but also to look at where we're at now. And honestly, when you think about reflection, you think about deep thought, deep consideration about something, but you also think about an image of something. If you look in a mirror, you expect to see an image when you do that. So the first thing I want to talk about is just reflection. And I want us to, again, take a moment, think about our past, our present, and then we'll talk about celebration. And I'll ask us the question, do we have a reason to celebrate? You know, based on the image that has been around since 1974 and us reflecting that image, do we reflect those principles, those core values that we were established with, and then anticipate, hope? Do we have a reason to hope for the future in what we're doing? Our image began to take shape in 1974 when local attorney and family court judge Mike Glenn led a group of community leaders to establish a treatment program in the Anderson community, so there could be a treatment intervention for young people, but they could still be near their families. So Judge Mike Glenn, his fellow community-minded partners, established at the time the Anderson Youth Treatment Center. You'll see some places where it's called the Anderson Youth Center. And not long after that, Anderson Youth Association, or AYA, and then eventually New Foundation's Home for Children. I was thinking about this agency in 50 years, and if you've been here any amount of time, well, probably, you know that every time we've had a history. And I just wanted to, for history purposes, call attention to one such incident. This is a letter dated July 16th, 1976. So when New Foundations began in 1974, nonprofits didn't have to have articles of incorporation. They just had to have bylaws to organize by. State law changed in 76 and said that nonprofits had to be incorporated. So this agency set out to do that, to apply to the Secretary of State to be incorporated, and there was a $15 fee that had to be submitted when the agency went through that process. So Robert Gamble, who's an attorney in Anderson that a lot of folks may know of, and practiced a long time in Anderson. But this is a letter addressed to him from the Secretary of State, and again dated July 16th. It says, "Dear Mr. Gamble, we wrote to you on July 9th, 1976, advising that your check in the amount of $15 given us in payment of the charter for Anderson Youth Association had been returned by the bank marked insufficient funds." So basically, trying to get us incorporated and official, we gave them a bounce check to get out of the gate, which was the first of, again, a few colorful incidents along the way that we won't necessarily go into. The Secretary of State goes on to say, "It would be embarrassing to us to have to take this up with the grievance committee of the Bar Association, but we do not think they would be approving of giving a bad check for this charter. We again ask that you deliver to us a certified check to cover this amount by return mail. Very truly yours, Frank Thornton, Secretary of State." No kin to Charlie, by the way, I checked. And they actually held it up too until they received a good check. But I thought that was an interesting piece of history that when you begin to look into our history. One other bit of trivia information that I think of when I reflect back. we're talking about the 50 years of New Foundations, AYA. My reflection of New Foundations goes back to 1976, actually, versus 74. And my experience with New Foundations came about because I had an encounter or two with Judge Mike Glenn. I had a few occasions where I found myself in family court where Judge Glenn happened to be the presiding judge. He happened to know of a local group home where he thought me and my family could receive services to help stabilize our lives, get me reunified back in the home and all of that. So obviously he knew the group home around the corner had a lot of pull. So he directed me to come out to the group home. So I was actually here in 76 for about 6 months. The reason that's important is, again, talking about reflection. I'm talking about us looking back at the image that was going on. So I had an opportunity to kind of see the image that was going on from a client's perspective, but I thought about the fact of what were the guiding principles or the core values that these leaders wanted to have in place. How did they start this group home? It'd be pretty easy if I were to ask you what some of those were. I'm sure you could guess. But our challenge is, when we reflect back and we look at some of those, our question is, do we still have those core values operating today? Some of those principles were caring, dedication, commitment, compassion. Those are things that were prevalent throughout all of these decades that New Foundations has been in operation. They were present to get it started, and those have been present and necessary to get us to where we are today to be able to have this celebration. So when we reflect on this history of the agency and these core values, our question is, I said a few minutes ago, do we have a reason to celebrate? Well, I think we do. Why is that? Because we still have those core values in you all of caring, commitment, compassion, and dedication. So we do have a reason to celebrate. I thought about some of the things that we can celebrate as we're gathered here. We celebrate our mission. We celebrate securing the future for children and families, whatever it takes. That's a spontaneous thing that comes out of a lot of our people's mouth. When there's a challenge or a problem sometimes, a lot of our folks will say, well, let's just do whatever it takes. So that's a reason to celebrate. We celebrate the quality and variety of services that the agency has today: group care, foster care, family preservation, transportation, and many support services that make all of this happen. We celebrate a board of directors and their voluntary commitment and dedication to ensuring that New Foundation doesn't just exist, but that we have a quality existence, quality operations. That's something that it took to start the place. We just got through with a board meeting 30 minutes ago where we exercised the same thing that the first boards did. We celebrate the quality of our staff, especially the longevity of many of our staff. That X factor is what that is. Kathy made mention of that. I wonder how many folks here have been here 20 years or longer. Just raise your hand. 25 or longer. Still got some. 30 or longer. Yep. So we've got some folks that can clearly do this experience of reflecting back and looking to see if we see anything familiar as we look back. Do we see anything familiar today representing that image? A couple of other things we celebrate. We celebrate a strong and dedicated community support. We celebrate a professional and positive reputation among state agencies and partners. We celebrate continuous accreditation by COA for 29 years. And we celebrate positive, most importantly, we celebrate positive outcomes and success with the children and families we serve. So in that reflection, in looking back, and thinking deeply on what we've been doing, looking at what we're doing now, when we look in the mirror of reflection today, do we see something familiar that we had in common with the forerunners, with the forefathers of New Foundations? That question would be yes. Do we have a reason to celebrate? Well, based on the things I just read to you, I would say yes, we have a reason to celebrate. And then finally and lastly, do we have a reason to anticipate and have hope for tomorrow? Do we have hope for the future of New Foundations? And should we have hope? That's a legitimate question. Should we have hope about the future of New Foundations? A sound strategy to assess the future of anything or anybody is to reflect on one's past and consider one's present. That's what we're trying to do in this brief moment here. Again, reflecting on our past, considering our present, and asking ourselves the question, how do we feel about tomorrow with New Foundations? How do we feel about tomorrow with continuing to serve children and families? How do we feel about continuing to do whatever it takes in order to fulfill that mission? Based on our ability to celebrate the things I just referenced, we have every reason to anticipate a sound future of continued, dedicated, and quality service to children and families. Again, all we have to do is look around and see that, yes, those things that occurred for 50 years are still going on, and everything is in place to continue those same strategies. The last thing I want to share with you, we have our mission statement that I read just a moment ago, securing the future for children and families, whatever it takes, or WIT. I'll share an interesting thing with you. I spoke with Charlie's son recently, Craig, and was talking to him and Charlie's wife about whether or not they are okay with us looking to commemorate Charlie in the 5K that we're looking to do. We wouldn't do that without families' support. But I was telling Craig how easy it would be to bridge Charlie to our mission statement of doing whatever it takes, because that's what Charlie did, whatever it takes. He said that's so interesting. He said that when they would have a problem in the family a lot of times, and they're working on something, Charlie would say, well, let's just do it, whatever it takes. Let's just get it done. And I said, he might have stolen that from us. I said, oh, we might have stolen it from him. He was a part of developing that mission statement when it was developed. So it is a prevalent mission statement that, again, spontaneously comes out. The last thing I'll read to you is our strategic directions. This is how we say we're going to fulfill our mission at New Foundation. This is how we're going to serve the children and families. Our 3 strategic directions, and just think about this as I read it, and see if you see these present. See if you see ourselves in these. The first one, our strategic direction, first one, be a model for children, or be a model for quality children and family services. The key word is model. That's what we strive to do. I think that's what we have done. I think we can anticipate we're going to continue to be the model because of y'all, the staff, the board, the community. The second strategic direction that gives us hope about tomorrow that we focus on, provide a supportive environment for growth and empowerment of staff as they work for children and families. We have to provide a supportive environment for our staff. You have to feel and be empowered in order to fulfill this mission. And again, that's happened for 50 years. We haven't always got that right, but hopefully no one can question that that's what we strive to do. And then the third one, innovatively secure and effectively manage resources to exceed the needs of children and families today and tomorrow. We have to have resources, all kinds of resources, from people to funds to gifts to time, you name it. We have to secure them, and we have to manage those things effectively and wisely, not to just meet the needs of the children, but to exceed the needs of the children and families. So we have plenty of reason when we reflect over our 50 years, when we reflect on the resources we have here today, we have plenty of reason to anticipate and have hope that our future should be sound and should be stable. So thank you again so much for coming out. And then our last person on the program, Brantley Hagler, our board chair, is going to come out and have some final comments for us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve, for allowing the board to be a part of today's celebration. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brantley Hagler. I work here in Anderson as an assistant public defender. So I'm tasked with, on a daily basis, trying to help people that may or may not want my help, may or may not like me, but it's an important job. And like y'all, I know what it's like to do something that can sometimes feel somewhat thankless. So from me to you, what I would say is what y'all do is very, very important. What y'all do matters. And I appreciate y'all letting me be here today to be a small part of that. With that being said, my job today is to officially declare the season of celebration of the 50th anniversary of New Foundations officially